This is Sarnia Lambton Daily for Wednesday, June 17th. Good evening, I'm Terry Doyle. After a couple days without changes, there have been 2 new cases of COVID-19 diagnosed in Sarnia Lambton, but the number of active cases in the region continues to decline. Lambton Public Health now says 278 people have tested positive for coronavirus. That's an increase of 2 over the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, 3 additional people are considered recovered. That brings the total number of active cases in the region down to 15. Blue Water Health continues to have 0 hospitalized patients with the virus. The federal government has announced that the Canada-US border will remain closed to non-essential travel until at least July 21st. The most recent travel ban was set to expire this weekend. Well, the province of Ontario announced on Monday that Sarnia Lambton is included in the groups of places that can go to Stage 2 on Friday, and people are still trying to figure out exactly what Stage 2 means, and we're into reopening, everything like that. There's Rob Harwood standing by, a Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Sarnia. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Terry. How are you doing today?
Pretty good as we truck right along here on, I think, week 13 of our show here. So it's been very busy. Rob, take me through, first of all, when we first talked, it was about closures and caution taping off playgrounds and telling people not to use anything now. And I know as a Parks and Rec guy, that was difficult times for you. I'm sure it's been nicer being able to release some of those things with the provincial, of course, restrictions being lifted and following those orders. But being able to open things back up must be a little bit nicer for your job.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, to your point, it's unprecedented times. So we are just trying to decipher the information that comes from the province and put it to play, because obviously we have to enact whatever emergency measures that they put in place. So, obviously we would love to have everybody on our playground equipment and out there playing sports. And that's what we're all about. We're all about active fitness, good social health for the community, but we're on pause right now. So for us, yeah, it's been difficult, no doubt about it. And of course, we don't have all of our staff back. Council had to make a very difficult decision of holding back on hiring our seasonal and part-time staff for the summer. So just as an example, we would normally have 151 people working for us in Parks and Rec in the summertime, and we're down at 41 right now. So obviously, the level of service that we're providing is considerably less. And we don't actually have any of our facilities open at this point. We do have ball diamonds that are available for use, but they're only open for families and, groups of 10 or less. Basically, as the province comes out with new standards, then we kind of adopt to those. But that being said, there's no competitive play that's being allowed at this point. Certainly no intercity play that's happening. The level of maintenance that we're able to do with only 1 guy on sports fields versus our normal 12 obviously is going to have an effect on the amount of work that we can do there. So we're just trying to keep things safe for people to get out there and stay active and fit. And, we keep saying here that we're just on pause, and it's unfortunate. 2020 has been a tough year for all of us, but 2021 will be back and just as good or better than ever, and people will resume their normal lives. But in the meantime, right now, it seems fairly apparent that things aren't going to change a lot through the course of this summer. I don't think we'll see any competitive play going on, right through the summertime. Now, that might change. The province could come out and say something different. Obviously, they're measuring data on a regular basis. So we kind of sit back and wait to hear as well. We don't have any heads up ever on what to expect today, tomorrow, or the next day. So it's been a busy time, and for the last 90 days we've been meeting as a primary control group every day and having those discussions, and then working as groups actually between us. And Point Edward's been great. They've been on all our calls. The County of Lambton folks have been on it, and we're just all trying to, as a group, decipher the information and decide what we can actually move forward with. And that's kind of the way it's been unfolding.
Could there be challenges maybe later in the summer? And I know you don't have a crystal ball hidden in there in the office, but that idea where, for example, let's say Baseball Ontario, for example, I know they're starting to move some return to play protocols in place, but then at the same time, we're getting into maybe August or September when even in a normal situation, you'd be getting close to reducing maintenance and reducing upkeep on some of the facilities. Could that be a challenge where basically we're just going to run out of runway for some of the summer activities, even if some of the provincial guidelines were lifted?
Yeah, there's no question about that. And honestly, we're monitoring pretty closely. The rec staff are all monitoring pretty closely which leagues have canceled play already. Honestly, every single day I get something in new that says that another league has decided to pull the plug. Some will come out and provide information to their folks to say you can go out, you can work out, you can do some training, but you still have to maintain social distancing. And it's it's just not normal. I mean, obviously, these folks would like to be out there and play as a team and continue to build their skills and get ready for playing others. And wow, it's just such an odd time for us all. So, as far as you asked, ball diamonds, like I said, I've got one guy that's out there doing it right now. There normally would be 12, so you're going to see significant differences.
Let's put a positive spin on it. I walked by, I believe it's the Linden Park, the tennis courts there that were upgraded in the last couple of years with a new surface, and I think there's 3 courts. There's even a little setup there for almost like road hockey type situation. I know I've seen since the restrictions were lifted to allow those to be used, those are constantly in use, just usually, of course, singles matches, but still are, obviously playing for fun. But I've got to think that's at least the positive where you're seeing those facilities that can be used, because they were locked up originally, but those facilities that can be used and with very little maintenance being pretty busy right now.
Well, and that's key. Honestly, what you just said is there's very little maintenance required for those. They are facilities that allow people to actually participate while still practicing social distancing. So those kind of things make sense for sure. We hate to see that our playground equipment has to be tied off. We just did a great project up at Canatera Park, and this time of the year we should just have every family out there enjoying it. It's going to come, but in the meantime, we are, we're stuck just waiting to see what happens moving forward. Again, it's a pause. It's a pause, but tennis has been good. Truthfully, this COVID thing has really probably a lot of people have reinvented themselves, and where people had other activities that perhaps took all their time. Now some of those activities aren't happening. You're seeing a lot more people out walking, participating in some of the green space, some of the trails that we've got. It's really quite impressive. I went out for a walk last night along the waterfront. Amazing the number of people that were there. So yeah, it's I think people are really growing to really appreciate our open spaces. We're really disappointed that we couldn't have the gardens up to snuff this year. I mean, our gardening staff are second to none. They're great people. They do a lot of their own creative designs, and they were looking so forward to having those beautiful gardens that everybody raves about. Again, it's a pause year. Our arena folks, same thing. Or everybody in this department, I'm so impressed with, because they all are in it to win it, and they're all good community contributors that just want to make a difference. And so it's troubling, I guess, that we have to be on pause. But next year we'll be back, and it'll be just as good.
Now, next year, of course, as you said, it'll be good. Even some events, are already planning to make them even better for next year. There's only one challenge in that situation. Rob Harwood's retiring. That's the rumor, at least. Okay, it's more than a rumor. It's already out there. How weird does that sound, and how strange as you count down the days after 41 years with the city of Sarnia? I've got to think this is, it's almost like it's not real until it really happens.
You know what? You're absolutely right about that. I mean, I can't even believe I say 41 years. It's hard to believe that I've been here this long. I love what I do, and I work with some great people. I have the opportunity to meet so many good community partners. I've met so many good community advocates. You're one of those, my friend. It's really kind of surreal to think that I won't be part of that, but I'm sure I'm not going to drift away and be a couch potato either. So I've met a lot of good people that make a difference in the community, and I'm hoping that I'll continue to be one of those as well. And, supporting Tourism Sarnia Lambton, supporting the Parks and Rec Department in the future, because we do good things, and we're good for the social health of the community for sure.
Before we let you go, what comes to mind when it comes to some highlights? And I was going to start maybe, of course, last year's Tall Ships, the renovations of Sarnia Arena, re-sprucing that up, considering probably people wondered the future of that place, considering the age of it as well. Just to kind of, I know, giving you a bit of material, but what comes to mind when you think of some of the highlights? Obviously the people would be number one, but in general, some of the things you've been involved in over 41 years.
Yeah, you nailed a couple of big ones there. Obviously, Tall Ships was absolutely, I would say, the best event in my career, no doubt. And I've been involved in a lot of other events, of course, every music event and a lot of the things that have gone on at SSEC, now PASA. I've been there since the inception of the Sarnia Sting. As a matter of fact, I was just kind of recalling the other day about Sarnia Sting when we had our very first game at Sarnia Arena, very first OHL game. Pretty nervous about it all. There was so much going on, so much to consider, so much different than anything else that we had done. And lo and behold, doesn't the refrigeration system break down? And we had no refrigeration system right from halfway through the first period. And I tell you, the number of times that night that I heard people joke to me about, hey, we finally got that indoor pool we're looking for. It was funny the first time. After about 43 times, it was starting to wear on me a little bit. So, yeah, there's been a lot, man. I'm telling you, it's been really, really good. I've met some great people, and I don't think that people understand how many really good community partners that there are in Sarnia, how many good volunteers, the good charitable people. It's amazing the community spirit that we have here. We just did an interview earlier about Canada Day, and my department is very, very proud of Canada Day. We work along with a lot of volunteers, and that is probably one of the best in the country, in my opinion. The Canada Day that we do here is really second to none. We're disappointed this year that we can't do it, but next year it'll be back bigger and better. And the team that we've got here at City Hall, they'll continue to do that great work. You don't get into this field unless you got your heart into it. So I'm sure there'll be good things to come.
Well, we know you won't be too hard to find around town, I'm sure, over the coming years after officially retiring. I'm sure you'll probably end up busier than you were before. So we appreciate all the work you've done, all the time you spend with us as well. And we know we will just see you wearing another hat, I'm sure, not too long down the road.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be out at all those events. I try not to miss any music events. We have in this community incredible musicians. So people get out. When we do our summer, this year, obviously, we're not doing it. But next year, when it comes back to the Waterfront Music Program, Rachel in our department actually organizes that, does an amazing job. We've got some great local talent. Boy, I tell you, people, you're missing something if you're not out there watching it. So I hope that the positive thing that'll come from this COVID-19 issue is that people will grow an even greater appreciation for our open spaces and our places, and get out there and participate and celebrate what we've got here, because it is really, really great.
Rob, enjoy retirement. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Terry. Take care.
There's Rob Harwood, Director of Parks and Recreation for the city. Stay tuned. Watching Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. Welcome back to Sarnia Lambton Daily. Well, we know it has been changing times for many people and many organizations in Sarnia Lambton, and one area that is now getting back up to speed more and more is the library services, and Darlene Koch, who handles that department for the County of Lambton, joins us now. And Darlene, first of all, let's talk about library services in the county. How many outlets are we talking about?
So Lambton County Library has 25 locations throughout Lambton County. Since we have had the COVID pandemic, we stopped operations for a bit, and right now our curbside service is located at 13 out of those 25 locations.
So Darlene, take me through mid-March. Obviously things got different in our world. We all were impacted. Take me through how that played out as we got into March and deeper into March and the pandemic hit.
Yeah, so back in March, which now feels like quite a long time ago, when news of the pandemic came, and we made the decision to close the libraries along with the provincial order that required the closure of our facilities. In hindsight, it was easy to close down. It's been considerably more work to reopen and to take into account all of the guidance and the public health measures we must take in order to keep all of our staff and our patrons healthy. So back in March, we did close the locations. We let people know that they could just simply hang on to their library materials until we had some further direction. And then beginning on June 1st, we had our employees come back to work once the province began stage 1 of its reopening plan. And that stage 1 allows us to offer curbside service. So during that period of closure, we were spending a lot of time thinking about how we would reoffer the service to the public, and we're actively planning for what we thought would be a curbside service. And indeed, that's what the province permitted us to do. And we took the steps to start that service to the public on June 8th.
We know for some businesses they were already maybe a little bit into that area, whether it was online ordering or had some sort of portal. Where did the library stand in the county with the library services stand to get from the existing service to now the current curbside service?
We actually were quite fortunate in that we were able to learn from a lot of the retail settings that had to start that process earlier than what we did while we were still closed. So we were paying close attention to how other retail environments were operating curbside service, or kind of a click and collect type service. So while we were closed, we were thinking about how people would order their materials, how people would pick them up. We were also thinking about what safety precautions were needed for the staff members that were providing that service. And we were kind of analyzing each of those components and then making a plan to go with it to prepare for the reopening.
So you get to the point of obviously starting the reopening, and I'm sure because of what's gone on in public health and everything like that, putting measures in place for the staff and making sure they're comfortable and they're safe. And I guess that's, I'm sure, step 1, even before offering the curbside pickup.
That's right. The step 1 was looking at our procedures and ensuring we had written procedures documented for all of our staff, and a training program in place for their very first day back to work. So we wished to remind all of our employees about what the symptoms and signs of COVID-19 are, with instructions to self-monitor themselves for symptoms, and instructions about what would happen if they do become ill at work. We also had training about the proper use of, we had to choose which personal protective equipment, or PPE as it's known, would be used to complete different aspects of their work, and ensure that we had supplies in stock, and then had training for the staff to ensure that they knew how to use that PPE in a safe manner. And then we had to look at all of our processes, how we were sharing workstations, how we just do the jobs that we've always done and take for granted, how they change a little bit when COVID comes into play.
So what is the process for someone now? The old days, you go into a library, browse around, find what you want, check it out, do that. What's the process now?
Okay, so right now we are limited to just curbside pickup. So if someone wishes to order a library book or a DVD, there are a few different ways that they can order that with us. So they can first of all use the online catalog through our website at www.lclibrary.ca. So they can log into their account, and they can select materials that way and request the item be picked up at one of those 13 libraries that are open. They can also call the library if they know a particular title or a particular author that they enjoy reading, and they know the exact name of that book or DVD that they want. They can call the curbside location that's open for business, and they can ask them to put a reservation on that title for them. And then a third way is if you really used to like to browse the collection, and you used to like having longer discussions with the staff members about what to read, we have a service available that we're calling the Reader's Advisory Service, and people can call 519-337-3291, extension 5909, or toll free at 1-866-324-6912, extension 5905. And they can have some longer in-depth conversations with some of our staff members who are there waiting on the phones to talk to people about what kind of authors they like to read, or what are the types of settings within books that they like to read. And our staff members will select materials on behalf of those patrons and have them delivered to those libraries for pickup. We do ask, sorry about that, Terry, we do ask that the patrons wait for our staff members to call them to let them know that the materials are available for pickup. And then once those materials are available, you would go to the library and call the library to let them know that you're there to pick up your item. Or if you don't have a cell phone with you, to knock on the door, and you can return to your vehicle and wait for further instruction.
No, all great, great process there to keep everyone safe, but still fulfill the services. Now, you mentioned there are a couple dozen locations in the normal world. How many locations are providing this service?
So we have 13 libraries that are currently providing curbside service. We looked to ensure that we had coverage in each of the local municipalities within Lambton County, and we wanted to ensure that there was some good coverage throughout the entire county. That list is available at www.lclibrary.ca, and individuals will be able to find the 13 locations there.
Take me through, there's obviously different generations of people, and whether it's, obviously instead of going to a library, some people, decide to type whatever they want to into a search engine or do things differently. Take me through, I know there's still a huge demand for library services, but take me through what are sort of the things that you find are the big demands, never mind during a pandemic, but just in general these days?
Well, certainly our electronic services have really exploded over the month of May. I'm assuming that with people having a bit more time on their hands because of the cancellation of social events or large sporting activities, that people have some more time on their hands. So we actually had the most checkouts we've ever had in the month of May for our ebooks and e-audiobooks. We had over, I believe it was 20,000 checkouts just in the month of May. So certainly our electronic library was popular for some of our users before, but with COVID, it seems to have become that much more popular. We do have traditionally, everyone thinks of the libraries being full of books, but we do have DVDs and TV series that have also become popular in the last several years. And we do have a number of people that use the library to reserve those materials and to watch movies or TV series that we're able to provide as well.
I was just thinking, when we talked about the curbside pickup, might go without saying, but just in case, making it clear. How about the return side of things?
Yes, and this is actually quite important, Terry, because we still have about 11,000 items that are out on loan that people borrowed before we closed in March. So about half of the items, we did have 25,000 items that were out on loan. About half of those have come back since we've put out the call asking people to return their items. So at this point, we really would like to encourage everyone, if they still have items that they had prior to our closure in March, that they please return those as soon as they can so that we can quarantine them and then put them back into circulation for other people to enjoy them.
Before we let you go, I've got to think now, getting things ramped back up with the reopenings for curbside and just everything like that has got to help the staff morale and get people sort of re-engaged, and obviously being able to have a little bit more customer interaction as well, because of course the first part of this, there was sort of that social isolation for some people. I've got to think it's been able to, this has been able to ramp things up a little bit for them.
Yeah, certainly libraries are very social places, and I know that I heard lots from our patrons who would email for updates looking to know when we would reopen, and certainly I know that so many of our staff members have formed great connections over the years with regular patrons that they see on a very regular basis. So I know that the patrons missed us. I know that the staff certainly missed the library patrons, and that people were excited to get back into the workplace. We're still not 100% up and running, of course, that we're not open at all locations, and look forward to the day when our services can look a bit more like they used to. But it is great to know that we welcomed, last week, we served over 1,200 people, and those 1,200 people borrowed more than 4,300 items. So in the first 6 days that we were operating, we did have a lot of traffic through. So it was really rewarding to see that people embraced library services and that they were excited to come back and to engage with us using curbside service.
lclibrary.ca is where you can get all the information on the Lambton County Library Services and the pickup services that are available right now if you want to get those books, DVDs, and other materials. And Darlene Koch giving us all that information. Darlene, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Terry. Take care.
There's Darlene Koch joining us at Lambton County Library Services. Stay tuned. You're watching Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. That's going to do it for Sarnia Lambton Daily for this Wednesday, June 17th. Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow.